Hi guys, and welcome to video number 6. This is the last video in our 6-part video series, Building a Complete CrossFit Athlete. Okay, this video is all about the zone and your peak, which is ultimately finding that sweet spot on competition day so that you can, demonstrate the absolute best you have to offer. Cool? So there are two things there. There's the zone and there is your peak. The zone, okay, what is the zone? The zone is, I want to say it's a mindset. It's not really a mindset, but it's a place you go in your head, your body follows, where there's no tension, there's no restrictions, everything just happens perfectly the way it's meant to happen, and ultimately you give your best performance. Okay, that's the zone. You can experience it in many different ways. Like an artist might find their creative zone. You might get someone who's high adrenaline activities, they're going to be launched rapidly into the zone where it's kind of this fight or flight response. All the right hormones are released at the right time. Vision is like super high detailed, time slows down, sensitive hearing, you're just very, very, very aware. And so when it comes to CrossFit athletes and the zone, we want that sweet spot so you can be aware of other people around you, but ultra focused on what you're doing. So your heart rate isn't through the roof, it's not low, it's right at that steady sweet spot. The other good thing, and some of you would have experienced this, others wouldn't have yet, but it's a beautiful place because when you're really in that sweet spot, you don't feel pain. You literally don't feel pain. So whether it's, lactic, lungs, the weights are stupidly heavy, it's like you're numb, it's like you won't feel it, and it's like someone else is doing the work for you. It's very bizarre, but, and probably some of you are going, this sounds like bullshit, JT, but it's the truth, okay? And if you can experience it, it is the greatest thing ever. And when you see people compete that are in the zone, it is very, it's like they're missing. It's like they're not on this planet, not in this world, and they're just going through the motions. And it's beautiful to watch because you'll see people that just breeze through workouts, and it looks like it's not hurting them because it's not. So we're gonna that's the zone, and your peak is ultimately your physical and mental, like a collaboration of your whole season coming together to form the peak. And once again, it's when you're primed, when you're at your best, when nothing else you could do could get you any better. You are at the absolute peak of your performance, you're ready to go. So if you can imagine, if you're at your peak and you're in the zone, you're gonna be absolutely unstoppable. And why is that important? Because the top, let's say, 100 people in your division of the CrossFit Open trying to get to regionals physically probably aren't that different. You might see some of the same people during competitions through the year, and some people win, some are in that top 10. When it comes to the Open or regionals, absolute crap. And so it's not a physical thing. It's not a physical thing, they've just timed it wrong, mental game's not on point. So this last video is absolutely crucial, okay? It's how we convert everything through all the other videos into that one performance that matters, all right? So bear with me. We're gonna be talking about the zone and then the peak here, okay? So as far as the zone goes, we're gonna dive into the brain and how the brain works a little bit on a very basic level. You've got conscious thought and you've got unconscious. We've got conscious brain, unconscious brain. Conscious is everything you know of. You're consciously aware of it, okay? Unconscious is everything you're unaware of. And then you might hear the word subconscious as well. Subconscious is something that you're not currently aware of, so you don't know about it, you're not thinking about it, but if you are asked about it, you could bring back that memory, and so it's subconsciously there and you can bring it out. If it was unconscious, you wouldn't be able to bring it out because you don't know it's there. Okay, so that's the difference between unconscious and subconscious. At the top here in the black writing, we've got our brainwaves, okay? And they're like any other wave in the universe. They have a frequency. Gamma is high frequency, beta, alpha, theta, delta, very low frequency, okay? Delta, let's start at the bottom. Delta is deep sleep. That's when you're unconscious, out cold, deep sleep, okay? That's when if you had the monitors hooked up, you'd see the delta waves, very deep. Theta is the next stage, sort of towards waking up. Theta is beginning to become aware. So you're starting to wake up. It could be like a relaxed, a meditative state. So you're sort of half awake, half asleep. You hit theta twice a day naturally. That's when you're going to sleep and when you're waking up, okay, in the morning. So you'll hit theta then. Alpha is a relaxed state. So you're not consciously thinking about stuff, but you're not asleep. So it's kind of, you know, if you were sitting there maybe reading a book or something like that where it's where you're conscious but not active, so it's relaxed. And as you can see, this is unconscious, this is conscious, alpha's kind of in the middle. This is when we start to come into the unconscious. Beta, that's when we're actively thinking. So that's when you're actively thinking about something. I need to go and do this, I need to go and do that. Very conscious thought, that's when your brain will be in the beta brainwave. Gamma is like sort of ultra conscious, really thinking, potentially overthinking. So yeah, the reason this is important, because the zone that we talk about fits into this somewhere, and it's up to you to practice and find it, okay? So, ultra thought, just thinking, relaxed to the point of starting to go to sleep, deep sleep, okay? This is where the zone sits. Okay, this is the zone. Hopefully you can see that. It's a green pen, might not be very clear, but it's between your alpha and theta. So you are relaxed, and you're, like I've said, you'll see people and they're kind of like half asleep. You're very focused but very relaxed. And what you'll find is, if you can, when you're stepping up to do the competition, before the 3, 2, 1 go, whatever it is, if you can be fully relaxed, very present in the moment. There's a common saying, I think it started with the basketballers in the NBA, which is play present. Very present in the moment, very relaxed, very calm. In this place here, you're going to have an awesome performance. So that's the zone. Now how do we get there? How do we attain it? Because obviously it sounds like a magical place and not many people will have experienced it. And ultimately it's this. You will always go there. You will naturally go there if you're not sleeping and you're not thinking, okay? Obviously you're not going to be sleeping with the delta brainwaves. Most people are thinking. Most people are thinking and potentially overthinking when it comes to a competition. Looking at the people around you, whatever it is. I'm going to do 5 reps, then I'm going to do 10. All that stuff should have already been done. Your brain should be okay? You should be very, very calm. You should not be thinking. So ultimately, if I can give you one bit of advice to finding the zone, it would be don't think. That would ultimately be it. If you can have zero thought, absence of anything going through the brain, then you'll be able to access that part that's very calm and relaxed. You'll find that things will draw you away from it. And you'll even go, okay, I'm not thinking, wait a minute, I'm thinking that I'm not thinking, and you messed up. It might be anxiety of the event. These things will draw you away from being able to find that focal point of being very calm and relaxed, okay? So this is a skill. You've got to practice it. Just like when you're a baby, you learn to be able to think for yourself. And as you grow up, you learn to be able to think consciously. You've now got to be able to learn to switch off conscious thought. And it's very hard for adults to do because our lives are so busy. There's always so much going on, okay? But start practicing the skill now. Whether it is in isolation by yourself, whether it is as you're going to sleep, see if you can just switch your brain off, stop it from thinking. And once you've practiced it in isolation, then start practicing it in workouts. So if there are people talking, if there's lots going on, just try and ignore them, find your little place, relax. When the workout starts, don't rush, don't do anything crazy, just start. Your body knows what to do. You know how to do a thruster, you know how to do pull-ups, you know how to do clean and jerks, you know how to do all of that stuff. You don't have to think about it, and you just go, okay? The thinking about it stage is during your foundations, during the season, you know, as you're preparing. If you're a weightlifter and you're doing an Olympic lifting comp, you think about your lift in training, you think about it maybe before you lift, but as you do the lift, no thought, because if you're thinking about it as you do it, you're screwed, absolutely screwed. So that's how we get into the zone. No thought, absence of thought, and your body will go there pretty naturally. Okay, practice it in isolation and then practice it with workouts. Now, moving on from the zone into your peak. Looking at our triangle here, our pyramid, at the bottom is the foundation, at the top is the peak, okay? During the season, during the main chunk of the season, we are building our foundation, okay? Without that stable foundation, you can imagine what would happen, okay? You'd have a small, crappy foundation, and your peak you could build a peak, sure, but it would topple. It doesn't have that stability. So you want to build a solid CrossFit athlete, and then you can bring it all together and form a beautiful peak. Now, these are just a couple of things to talk about during the foundations. You know, you want a balanced athlete. That's probably my key. If you can get someone who doesn't have a weakness, that would be the first thing I did with any athlete. Get them round and then build out, okay? Balance, health is pretty critical. That's not just, you know, no diseases, but also injury-free. The body works well. You've just got a good, stable mind. Everything's healthy. Skill set, your skill set is broad. Okay, you can turn your hand to anything. You don't have to be the greatest at it, but you could do it if you were asked to do it. Energy systems, obviously your ability to do work in different time domains, and your attitude. So like I said, it's rough, but this is just building solid foundations of a good athlete, okay? And that's happening all through the year. Now, as we start to peak towards our comp, this is comp day. This is comp day at the top here. Things start to change a little bit, okay? If you know what workouts, what movements are involved in the competition, you can start to get really specific. So these skills we talked about here, you can start to, like, they're broad, and then whichever ones are in the comp, you can start to really specify which skills you're going to start doing more of leading into that comp. We've got the CrossFit Open with the introduction of dumbbells. So if you're starting to approach the CrossFit Open and you know there's going to be barbells, dumbbells, there's only certain things that there are going to be in the Open. To a degree, it might change. Start doing more of that stuff. If you know the competition has had swimming in it 3 years in a row, start to really increase your swimming as you lead into the comp. Anyway, at the bottom of this here, we've got nutrition and lifestyle preparation. Now what that means is, if you're going away to compete, make sure the accommodation you're going to is built for a really good environment for you to compete out of. So it's relaxing, you don't have distractions, you know, there aren't parties going on, it's on a quiet street, it's got a comfy bed, it might have a swimming pool, or it might be by the beach. You really want to make sure that that stuff starts coming together. You want to make sure other areas of your life aren't like real tense. You're not taking on more clients as you come into the competition, or, you know, more hours work. You really want to be tapering all that off just so your body is in a really stable place. Nutrition as well is an obvious one. Just make sure it's on point as you're coming into the comp day. Now, next up is deload and skills. This is really important obviously. To be able to reach the zone like we talked about, you need absence of thought, so your mind is clear. To be able to reach your peak, you need to deload the body physically, mentally, so that it can rejuvenate, recover, be nice and fresh. Okay, when it comes to deloading, a lot of people aren't sure how to do it, don't know what's involved. Ultimately with a deload, ultimately, this is very broad, you want to drop volume from the volume you have been doing or what you are used to or what your athlete is used to by about 30 to 50%, okay? So that means if they're normally doing 2 hours of training a day, you want to be down to about 1 hour a day. You also want to be doing things that are friendly on the body. So things that aren't going to be causing joint problems or issues or anything that person is specifically, not too good. A common example would be Achilles, people with Achilles problems. When you deload them, you don't want to be giving them box jumps, things like that are really harsh on their body. And like I said, deload and skills. As you deload, you drop that volume, but you maintain intensity, okay? So the intensity is high so that you don't lose any sort of training adaptation. This is specific to your event or sport. But the overall volume is low, and what that causes is less stress on the body, so your body rejuvenates, recovers, and it starts to show its best self. But it also means that you don't lose any adaptations because the intensity is high, and the skill level is extremely high, specific to the competition that you're competing in, so that those movements, those WODs, those exercises, you're honed in on. You've dialed them in, so you're very efficient, you're going to perform better on the day. Next up, we've got mindset and visualization. So as you're coming into a competition, right, if you have one thing that's, even if it's unconsciously burdening you, you're gonna suffer, okay? So you need to make sure, and your coach needs to make sure, or if you're a coach, you need to make sure of your athletes that there's none of this other stress in their life. Their mind needs to be very, very clear and very, very focused. With the visualizations, once again, I talked about a weightlifter before. You can think about the lift before you do it, but don't think about it as you do it. If you've got a competition coming up and you know the workouts, run them through in your head, rep by rep, step by step, every single bit. There's research that shows if you run through it in your mind, you're firing the same motor patterns as if you were doing it physically, okay? So run through it in your mind time and time again, perfectly, absolute perfect execution. And then when you come to doing it on the day, your body has neurally done it. It's already done it. And once you do something, it's easier to do it the next time. So visualizations are absolutely crucial, something that not enough people probably do enough of. And it's not just of whole workouts, it could be movements, it could be visualizing how you're going to react if certain things happen. And this is, the mindset stuff. You need to put this stuff in place, and we'll talk about it a bit more at the top here. Things are going to happen that are outside of your plan, outside of your visualization. And if you consciously think about it, what's it going to do? It's going to take you from here to here, and you're going to start to suffer. You start to feel the pain of the workout. You got brought out of the zone. Okay, so visualizations are crucial. Mindset is crucial. Make sure you've got things in place to keep you in the sweet spot. Okay. Now, competition day. This is right at the top of our peak. If you've done everything from the following videos, if you've done everything in this video, this is the day that matters. It could be an open workout, it could be a competition, mid-season, regionals, games, whatever. Competition day is make or break. The amount of people that are by far good enough, they've spent their whole season up until literally this day doing everything right, and then they fuck up on the day because they don't keep their shit together and their mindset's not on point. Okay, so very, very important. And you would have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Competition day. Your body's good, everything is good, everything within your control, in your bubble, you've looked after, you've taken care of, it couldn't be any better. Now there's always stuff outside of your control that's going to happen. The only thing you can then control is your reaction to it. And I'm going to talk about the zone and things that can pull you out of the zone, okay? So in a CrossFit competition, obviously there's a judge. People are going to get no rep. And I've seen it time and time again. For whatever reason, people have been no repped and they've come out of the zone. Okay, so they've either had to think about why is it not a rep, why are you no repping me, or something defensive crops in where it's like, that was a rep, why is the whatever it is, that immediately is going to pull you into a conscious thought and out of the zone. Okay, so you need to practice, mentally prepare in advance that if that happens, if something happens, you're not going to succumb. You're going to stay very, very present, and you're going to keep it within you, keep it within your bubble. Okay, so say you get no rep, cool, take a breath, whatever it is. You can engage with someone, but it has to come from an unconscious place, which means you must have practiced it. If it comes from a conscious place of like you're dancing around the place, you're gone. If it comes from a subconscious, it just happens automatically, you can stay in that sweet spot and you can keep working the reps away. And you know what, it might put you behind a little bit, but that's a lot better than coming out of the zone and then giving it all away. Okay, no reps are one thing. It can also happen with an event. So you might have an event that doesn't go to plan. It might be harder than it's meant to be. You break up more, or just other people beat you, and you have an expectation that you were going to win. Once again, you're screwed. If you have expectations, okay, so you have a concept in your head of how it's going to be, and that concept is not met with reality, then that puts you down. That's negative, right? You're going to be like, I expected this, it didn't happen, pulls you down, pulls you out of the zone, pulls you out of your peak state. Cool? So another really important thing to put into practice is do not have expectations. Have zero expectations. When you go to any workout, any competition, there is no expectation. To come first, to come last, doesn't matter. The only not even expectation, but the only thing you should be trying to do is stay present, because then everything else will be at its best for you. You'll perform your best, everything will happen perfectly. Okay, if you have an expectation, immediately, so if you exceed that expectation, even then, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to have it, okay, because it's going to give you an artificial high, whatever it is, and you can come down again. You can't leave the present moment. Can't leave that bubble. Cool? Another thing that pulls people out of the zone, and this is a tricky one, is sprint workouts. Very, very fast, aggressive, high lactate. They're just more intense, right? They're just more intense, and I guess I wouldn't call it stress, but it's like there's no pacing, there's no slow and steady. It's like balls to the wall, and I'm yet to see someone really compete in the zone during a sprint workout. Cool. I've seen people start them, but finish them way out. Absolutely wrecked. So just be aware if it's a sprint workout, or even if it's something high lactic, generally the pain will eventually pull them out. It'll just eventually get too much. And again, it's a skill that you need to practice. Practice tolerating it. I've worked with people, mindset coaching, people that don't like pain, right? Whether it's an assault bike, on a sled, whatever it is, the lactic wrecks them. And if there's a workout that's got anything in it with that, they won't give it 100% because they've got this preconceived idea that it's going to hurt. Okay? And so you need to be thinking about this, because everyone's got a weakness, everyone's got a hole, everyone's got a problem that can be fixed. So if that's you, or you fear something, or if a workout gets released, you're like, oh damn, straight away that's setting you up to fail. Okay, and you can work on these things with your mindset by like erasing that negative anchor that you've got to it. Okay, and planting into the mind a positive one, or a positive mantra, something that sits there so that when it comes up, you don't have a negative association. So you don't drop down, when you see something, you don't spike up, you just stay grounded, stay very present, and you're not going to be shaken. And once again, you're going to have your best performance. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to summarize it now. The zone, you know where it is, it's right there. The way to access it is absence of thought, no thinking, okay? And that's where you'll find your sweet spot. You need to practice it, because it's so hard to turn your brain off. It's very, very hard to turn conscious thought off. So practice, 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 until you find this nice, smooth, comfortable way to compete, train, whatever it is, okay? That's the zone. When we're coming to building our peak, there's a lot that goes into it, physically and mentally, okay? Physically, we need this deload of the body, but not too much. You still need to be stimulated, so it's not complete rest, okay? And yep, I'm gonna say it. You wanna look at your energy systems, look at how long they take to recover, and that many days, work backwards from the competition day, that's when you wanna last hit those energy systems. So, strength, for example, is probably going to take the longest to recover, okay, because it's neurally based. So you want to probably hit your strength training, depending on the athlete. Maybe it might take 10 days to recover from a strength workout and potentially super compensate. You want to hit the strength 11 days out. 11 days out from the comp, boom. The next energy system is that sort of lactate system or muscle endurance. Maybe that takes 4 days to recover, super compensate. So you want to be hitting that about 5 days out. The aerobic system, you can pretty much train up until the day before, as long as it's not going into debt of any sort, because then obviously for the competition your body's going to want to be in a recovery mode, not a stimulated mode. So that's how you structure that deload leading in 1 to 2 weeks, but making sure volume is about 50 to 60% of normal, okay? So that's the physical deload. Mentally, visualizations, running through the event, running through any situations that might take you off guard, and planting in counter attacks to whatever situation might crop up. The ultimate counter attack is to stay present. No matter what, stay present, and then your body will act out of instinct, and believe me when I say this, the right things will happen, okay? When your body just does what it needs to do and you're not overthinking it, you're not getting into any sort of conflict, any highs or lows, when you're just very grounded and steady, everything will happen as it's meant to happen, and it will be a perfect performance, okay? And then obviously competition day, find that peak during those workouts. Find the zone during those workouts, okay? Absence of thought, get into flow. That's what the zone is, flow, peak state, whatever you want to call it. Get in that spot and you'll absolutely crush it. Cool. So a lot of this stuff isn't trained, it's not even talked about really. How often do you go to your CrossFit gym and you've got people talking about brain waves and flow states and visualization, whatever it is? Not enough, okay, not enough. So this is gold, and this is something that we really help all of our Underground RX athletes with. There's options. We've got mindset coaching as well on the website, so you can literally have one-on-one coaching for this stuff. If you've done everything from all of these videos properly, okay, you've had a good solid 11-12 months of doing everything properly, then there is absolutely nothing stopping you reaching the top, reaching your goals, because it's a lot of work and not everyone's prepared to do it. So if you're prepared to do it, you know what to do, it's all been spelled out, the information's there. If you need any more help, ask. But if you're willing to do the work, all of the work, if you're willing to listen to your coach or listen to the advice we've given you, then there is nothing stopping you reaching your goals. Cool, team, that's gonna wrap up the 6-video series, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions at all, fire them our way, and until next time, I'll see you then.